Oh, yeah. What's up, guys? How's it going this evening? Thank you for tuning in and joining us here on this Monday evening. So we're going to go over a few things today, right? And the main title of this entire stream is, or the main subject is the M1 chip, right? So we're gonna look into the M1 chip and its, you know, how it's gonna work for us production professionals, because there's a lot of us out there and we always get very, very nervous when they release something new. Apple releases something new. That's why a lot of production guys are on machines that are multiple years old. Systems are working, so they don't want to mess with it. So just a few housekeeping things. I wanted to let you guys know that the chat is live. So if you are, if you want to ask any questions along the way, participate in any discussions, chat there, chat amongst yourselves. That's really good. If you want to get my attention, just hit, make sure you tag at High Tech on Life. And then I will see that and be able to jump over there. So we're going to test the chat out here. Testing. So if you want to chat, go ahead and put stuff in the chat window there. And then also, I just want to put one plug in for our equipment fund that we've been doing over on Patreon. It's a little bit different of a thing because... It's a little bit different of a Patreon because we're basically saving up money to buy gear, right? So if you guys want to be a part of that and can spare a buck or two, it's, you know, donate what you want. So you can jump over there. The link is in the description of this current stream. So it's really cool. The whole concept of it is you put in a couple bucks a month. Hopefully we get enough people that we can buy some equipment, review it, learn about it here on the channel. And then at the end of that, we give it away to one of the Patreons, one of the patrons. I actually said that wrong a couple of streams ago. Anyway, so if you want to jump over to the chat, go ahead right now. Also, go over to where are we at? We're on Twitter and Instagram mostly. We do have Facebook, but we post there just when we upload videos. But Twitter and Instagram, I usually try to put something on there, you know, 1 or 2 times a week to keep things rolling. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. I wanted to really jump into this and get going fast because like I was saying in the intro, this is kind of for us production professionals who have to, or who rely on these computers to make a living, right? So we are always a little nervous when somebody is releasing something new. For instance, I think it was Mojave when they introduced Mojave. We couldn't upgrade Pro Tools. I couldn't upgrade Pro Tools, anything, just because. Sorry, I got sidetracked by the we don't need no stinking badges. Yeah, I'll get to that in just a second. I actually can't see your name. What's your name there? Anyways, no, that is your name. We don't need no stinky badges is your name. That's awesome, dude. Okay, so I'll actually bring that up on screen here. Oh, I have to do that now. His name is We Don't Need No Stinking Badges. That's awesome. So what might be working on Mac Mini M1 aside from Logic? We'll get to that in just a minute, but yeah, we'll bring that up. So hang tight. But we always run into this issue where we can't upgrade right away, right? And we're very hesitant with anything, and maybe it's just because I'm a Pro Tools user, but it's always just, is this going to be what it needs to be? And so I actually thought initially when Davinci released Resolve 17, and then like the next day Apple releases M1, I'm going, oh, that means we're going to have to figure out now they're gonna have to figure out what to do. But you kind of think someone that large, they're gonna have, what's it called, an SDK ahead of time, so they can develop what they need to make it work with an M1. And I know a lot of developers are working on that. But we always run into this. Like my old laptop from 2012 has been on High Sierra for a long time because I don't want to upgrade. And then they released Resolve 17, so I go and I have to upgrade to Mojave at least, bare minimum. So I do it, and now my computer just goes so slow. It's just so slow. So I'm trying to reconcile that right now. Anyways, so we're gonna talk about that a little bit because I want to figure out what this is for, right? So if we jump over here to the computers, so this whole system on a chip. I mean, we're used to, if you've got a machine, if you've got like a desktop machine, whether it be a Mac or a PC, or the new Mac Pro, I guess I should say, or like one of the old cheese grater ones, the first Intel ones before the trash can. These are those were upgradable, right? So we could put video cards in them. We can increase the RAM. I know you could in the trash can too, but you can do things like that. And now we have this system on a chip that basically gives us nothing to customize. And I know that's not a good thing for a lot of people. I'm going to adjust this a little bit so it's kind of like that. There we go. So my whole thing is I'm editing on the go a lot. So I'm always looking at MacBooks and MacBook Pros. And I've had this weird struggle. Like if I go to this overhead view here, like this computer over here, this is the 11-inch MacBook Air back when they made it. And I just use it for, my just like regular everyday tasks, but I don't use it to edit anything because even though it's got an i7 and everything. Oh, and here's the stream setup, by the way. Even though this has an i7 in it and it's got, I think, 16 gigs of RAM, might just be 8. Let's see. 8 gigs of RAM in this thing. It's still not super powerful. I can do some small stuff on it, but I can't do like a whole bunch. I can't do like really intense video editing. I could do a little bit of audio editing and mixing, but not super deep. And I can only do minimal plugins, those kind of things. So I look at I'm always going between this, small and powerful. That's what I want. I want something small. I want it powerful. And I keep waiting for Mac or Apple to do something like that. And I pray that this is it because, we go over to, the MacBook Air, and it would be so nice if this was the guy. If this was the guy that I could take with me and not have to worry about, the weight of, like, I've got my 15-inch MacBook Pro from 2012. It's not super heavy, but it's heavier than some, right? It's heavier than a lot. So when we go through and look at all this stuff on the MacBook Air, it's very similar to the chipset, or it looks, at least on the outside, it looks very similar to the chipset that is in the MacBook Pro. But then why would they release the MacBook Pro? There's got to be something a little bit different. And I was looking through. They all have the same. I think they still all have the same core count, the CPU core count. But I think the graphics are a little different. We'll look at that in just a minute. I know it has a little bit more battery life, as it says here, but that's not a huge deal to me. No fan would be nice, but then you think it might get a little too toasty. And I know ML, machine learning, that's pretty big with some of the stuff that we do, especially like in the NLEs and those kind of things. So we're kind of looking at we're kind of looking at what can be used within this architecture. And I wanted to go to the MacBook Pro too, and we'll compare these in just a minute. But this has, let's see, this is the same kind of thing, right? So it goes through all the same stuff, the same chipset, the same 8-core CPU, 8-core GPU, and the neural engine, I believe, I might be wrong on that, is, I didn't see this on the MacBook Air, but it might be, right? So my question is, which one do you get? I mean, seriously, which one do you get, or do you wait for, like, are they going to do something even more powerful for the 16-inch MacBook Pro? And do you wait for that? But then those are always like $4,000 for those. But as we look back here, let me see, where was it here? When they show the actual M1 itself, do they not have it here? Where is it? Hello, did I miss you? Let's go over here. We'll learn about M1 again. Okay, so if we look on here, we have the GPU here, CPU here, cache, neural engine. Here's the other thing that we run into is right here. That's the RAM, right? That is the RAM. It's what do they call it? High performance RAM. But it's definitely like 100% not upgradable at all on these machines. We're kind of used to that now. The RAM is not upgradable, but it's definitely not now, because I believe that's what these are. From the looks of it, it looks like that's what those are. And the max you can get in either of these is 16 gigs. I mean, we just got up to, like, if we go and check out the 16-inch MacBook Pro, and you go to buy one, I mean, I guess we can just go to tech specs. Oh, no, let's go back here. Go back to buy. So if you go to the big guy, right? We start big. And we go down to RAM. You can get up to 64 gigs of RAM in these bad boys now. That's huge. I mean, this is one of the most, I hate to say perfect, but it's darn near perfect MacBook Pro, right? Because you can get a Core i9, 8-core Core i9, 64 gigs of RAM. You can get dedicated graphics with it. You can get up to 8 terabytes of hard drive space. But now let's just select them all and see how high we're going to get here. So we're at $6,700 now, which is extremely expensive. You could probably justify this if you're going to be using it for the next few years, the next 8 to 10 years. But let's go back and we'll actually compare these, because they're pretty close in price. So if we head to like the MacBook Air and we buy one of these, let's go ahead and click buy. And we're just going to max it out and see what we can get to. All right, so this can do 16 gigs max, right? 2 gigs storage, or 2 terabytes storage, sorry. And that's really the only selections we have, other than some built-in hardware, Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro, which, by the way, those will absolutely, because those are made by Apple. We all know that. Those will be ready to go day one. So you don't have to worry about it with Big Sur or M1. It's just ready to go. So if we have 16 gigs, I mean, that's $2,000. That's actually not bad for the MacBook Air. Now you're also running into what is this going to, what is the difference? What is really the difference between the 13-inch MacBook Air and the 13-inch MacBook Pro? And I was looking through all of these, and they have the two different models here. And if you come down to here, the GPU on the $999,000 one is a 7-core GPU. And I'm like, okay, well, if they have to drop a core to bring it down, $250, let's do it. And that's pretty much the difference. You're coming down looking, even this one's configurable up to 2 terabytes, the $1,000 version. There's really not much of a difference other than that one graphics core. So you're paying $250 for an extra graphics core. Nice. And I think, no, that's the same there. Yeah. So let's go over, if we go over to the MacBook Pro, you're going to see that this one, no matter what you get, I mean, you can get both, either an Intel or an M1, which is nice. But look, it's got everything other than the prices between the two. Everything's pretty much the same. They've got the storage that's a little different. But that is it. It's just the storage options. So there's not a huge difference between these ones. I had to sneeze there. Sorry. So let's get that back on. So now we got the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro, and they're pretty close, other than that extra GPU. They're probably different. I'm putting it out there right now that they're going to be different, right? So they're each I don't want to say unique, but they're different M1 chips, right? So if we compare the two, you kind of look at the MacBook Air as, okay, this is going to be a thin and light. I can throw it in my backpack. It should be super powerful according to what Apple says. And then you go to, let's see if I can find it here. Mac. Let's come over here and we'll compare a couple here. So if we compare MacBook Air M1, right? And then we'll do MacBook Pro 13. And then just for S and Gs, we'll throw up the Mac Mini, okay? So we're going to compare all these and see exactly where they come in. Because if you're just doing stuff in your studio, you might be looking at, Mac Mini. Because Mac Minis are great. They dropped a couple of Thunderbolt ports, but that might just be the capacity of the chip itself. It's only able to support 2 of those Thunderbolt chips. So, sorry, let me bring up this screen. I forgot to bring that up. So I'm comparing these in here, and we've got the MacBook Air M1, MacBook Pro 13 M1, the Mac Mini M1. And Greg brings up a point. He says that why would you get those over anything else? And I'll just bring that up. He says because the fan and more thermal dissipation, which is true. And I think if you're going to be doing a lot of that processor intensive work, you may run into thermal throttling on the 13-inch MacBook Air. So one thing I wanted to show you as I was going through these, so they're pretty much the same, right? So you're going through 13-inch, 8 cores across the board, up to 16 gigs across the board, up to 2 terabytes storage across the board, a little bit more battery life for your 13-inch MacBook Air or 13-inch MacBook Pro. It has a touch bar, which I'm not a huge fan of touch bar, but that's just me. Everything else is very similar. Even if you go to the SoCs, they're like exactly the same. Even though the only difference is this says up to 8 core, which means it has that 7 core model. They all support up to 16 gigs of RAM. They all support up to 2 terabytes, blah, blah, blah. And then we come down here. So you've got your dimensions, and what I'm always looking for is the weight. But if you look right here, the MacBook Air is 2.8 pounds, the MacBook Pro, 3 pounds. So 0.2 of a pound more to get, like Greg said, you've got the fan and you've got the thermal throttling and everything. Let's see, you've got everything up there that, or everything to keep your Mac cool and to keep that power, because you're going to have that thermal throttling. You have to. If you're running something like Pro Tools or Davinci Resolve, or I would say even Logic, you're going to run into some of that throttling. This upsets me. Apple. We are so dedicated to making things look so great in FaceTime, and then they give you a 720p camera. Just give us a freaking 1080p camera, minimum 1080p. I'm just saying. Okay. So I would say that what we're going to run into, as Greg pointed out too, is you're going to run into that thermal issues. So to get something, I would go to the MacBook Pro 13, because we priced out this one, the MacBook Air, and it came in at just over $2,000. So if you run up to the MacBook Pro, and we spec out one of these, and we'll do a full spec on this as well, which is what I tend to do just so that it stands the test of time, right? So we'll grab this guy. Okay, M1 chip, 16 core, 8 gig, unified memory, but we're going to bump that memory up to 16, and then we're going to get up to 2 terabytes of storage. So look at this price. You're at $2,300. So you're like, what, $300 more, a little less than $300 more to get that much more of a build of a computer, I would say, and probably a better processor as well. You get the thermals, which will help with pushing it a little bit harder. But I mean, that's not bad. Not bad at all, for something that'll probably last you quite a while. So now we come into another issue that we as production people, we run into all the time, and that is operating system upgrades. And as I'd mentioned earlier, we are very hesitant to update to things. So I've got work computers, or a bunch of laptops at work that I deal with and we manage, and we have to always be watching for those updates and what that's going to affect. So when they released a few of these laptops that were Mojave forward only, we ran into that problem where we couldn't deploy those because Pro Tools was not fully compatible with Mojave. It worked, but it wasn't like completely certified by Avid. And I know a lot of companies did that as well. Adobe's always pretty on top of it because their client base would murder them if they didn't. And I'm surprised Avid's hasn't yet. But they know that we all kind of cling to our old machines and will wait until everything is ready to go. So if they came out with Big Sur, and that operating system, I don't know how long it's going to be. Catalina has been kind of a pain for a lot of people, because they're switching how Mac OS works so much, and I don't really know all the details. I'm not I'm an audio engineer. I'm an audio guy, and doing a little bit of video. I don't really get into the super mega deep tech specs on this stuff, but they allow us to, or they don't really tend to allow us to keep what we want. Like, everybody has to develop and move forward. Yeah, I understand that, but they're just I feel like they're alienating their client base sometimes with these decisions. And I know that it's partially up to the developer to get that stuff done. I completely understand that. That's a thing. And there's some developers that are really on it, and then there's some that kind of slack because they kind of feel the same way I do, where Apple drops specific things that end up killing the program, and then they have to adapt to whatever Apple sets as the standard, which can get really annoying. So I understand why there was a mass exodus there until, what was it? Until they came out with the 16-inch MacBook Pro, there was a mass exodus to Windows machines. And actually, I got a Windows machine too. Where are you? Oh, you're over there. So this is what I got, which is a ThinkPad P1, because this is my work laptop. This is a killer machine, and it handles anything and pretty close, if not, better than the 16-inch MacBook Pro. That's a little bit debatable, but I could take this bottom off here, and I can upgrade it if I want to. It's got a secondary M.2 slot that I can put another hard drive in. I can't do that in any MacBook models, any laptops from Apple. So I understand the mass exodus away, right? So let's look at a couple of programs that probably will work with Big Sur. And the first one, during their, so they did their keynote, right? The nice, awesome, cool keynote, all that stuff. So I keep looking up at my confidence monitor, making sure I'm in frame. And I was happy to see that Resolve was running on M1, and they didn't just keep it to Logic or to Final Cut, right? Because Final Cut is their software. Like I said, everybody knows that's going to work just fine. But you're always a little unsure about what other programs are going to work. So I'm obviously not on an M1 machine currently, but I've got this updated version of, so this is 17, the beta version. If I take my screen off there, you can see down here, it's the beta version. And it's been running really smooth. This is a Core i9 MacBook Pro, I believe. And then this is Pro Tools. So this is my wireless charging Rode Wireless Go charging on the go video. And this is the new version of Pro Tools. This is 2020.11, I think it is. And it looks pretty smooth. I mean, they did a lot of cool upgrades. I have a feeling that they're going to be a little more on top of it this time, especially with this latest release and going into 2021. They're going to be, it'll be interesting to see what they come up with, or if it'll be compatible, because I mean, literally every time that a new operating system comes out, they say, "Whoa, time out, hold on, don't upgrade yet because we haven't given it our gold star." And that goes into a whole other thing about how Apple frustrates us as Apple users. Avid frustrates us as Pro Tools users because they're like the Apple of the recording software, or audio recording software, because they pull the same kind of crap sometimes, which is super annoying. So I think they'll be up to date. I think that we'll also have the Adobe suite, right? So they'll be what's the one they use? Adobe Audition, and obviously all their Premiere and Photoshop and Lightroom and all those. The whole Creative Suite will be ready to go at some point. So there's going to be quite a few things I think will be ready for Big Sur, because it seems like Apple's actually on one side of it. And oh, okay, let's see. So Clark, Clark brings up, hey Clark, how's it going, dude? He has Pro Tools 2020.11 working on Big Sur right now, so that is good to know. I didn't know that. I just have it on my Catalina machine, and actually ended up rolling this machine back to Mojave for other reasons. Yeah, and then Greg says, he says there's also the plugins, that are the plugins going to be up to par. And you've got a lot of those, smaller companies that maybe don't have the resources to put this stuff out there fast enough, or to update fast enough. And I really would love to jump into that side of things. Now, Clark, the question for you, man, is this going to be, is you have Big Sur running right now, which is cool, but it will be, well, I guess it will be compatible on M1. I bet, Clark, you're probably running. Yeah, let's see. Let's throw up that chat there. So Greg asks what hardware is Clark running that on? I'm assuming that's on your HD rig, Clark, right? I know Clark, by the way. Man, I'm surprised you did that with all the production you need to do, all the crap you need to get done. Let's see. By the way, I've been hesitant on, well, not hesitant, I shouldn't say that, but I'm digging this new layout in Pro Tools, but it almost seems too dark, right? Because it's like, I come over here and I can adjust some of the brightness here, which I've already done. The brightness, I took it way up, but, I don't know. I'm kind of liking this more, dark side feel, but it's pretty cool. Oh, okay. So Clark's got it on his 2015 quad core. Cool. I would suspect that it feels like this is such a large thing for. Here, I'll throw that up there. Clark said he's got it on his 2015 quad core i7. That's what I've got on my 2012. It feels like this is a massive leap for Apple, right? We're going from Intel, which they've partnered with for years, and they're jumping over to their M1 chip, their own silicon, and if they get people who are pissed at them and can't port their software over, that's going to screw them over big time. And probably even more so than what happened as the MacBook Pros got crappier and crappier. And then they finally did the 16-inch MacBook Pro and got rid of the stupid keyboard and fixed everything, right? Oh, and Clark says, is it not on my production computer? Yeah, because and okay, so Avid hasn't blessed Pro Tools yet, but you got it working. That's what I found with Mojave when they had that big issue where they couldn't quite get it to Mojave yet. Is it worked? It just, there was a couple little things that were funky on it that didn't quite work. Like, you could get something done, but are you really gonna trust your production computer with that? Heck no, that's just not going to happen. So anyways, I think we're going to have, I think Apple's doing a good job so far of getting people SDKs and their software to port their software over to an M1 architecture. We'll see how it goes. I heard they got the Rosetta 2 and their universal apps. You can create a universal app that works on Intel and M1. You've also got Rosetta 2, which supposedly makes software that runs on Intel run on M1. But I think the original Rosetta had a lot of issues as well, so that leaves people really hesitant. I don't know. We'll see what happens for sure. Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to it, really, because I think that it's going to be a very cool idea, because you can run a lot of your iPad apps, which I've got some really cool iPad apps that I can't run on my computer. Like, I've got one right now, if we go to my overhead. So right here on my iPad, playing the music is this Go button from what was it, Figure 53, I think, that makes QLab. And it's a really cool program because I can, I'll dim the music here and I can start some music playing. And I could have my whole music playlist here. But that'd be nice to have it on a Mac. Why not, right? So I think that's going to be like one of those things that you didn't know you needed, and now you know you need. And then you'll wonder how you ever got along without it. So only time will tell, really. We'll just have to keep our eyes open, see what comes of it. Those new MacBook Airs and MacBook Pros, they're out, they're coming, and we'll just have to see what happens. So I think, Clark, you said it hasn't been blessed by Avid yet for Big Sur. Pro Tools hasn't been blessed by Avid, and I'm assuming that's the same for Media Composer. As we heard, Adobe, they'll release their full creative suite of things by next year, early next year. All the Apple stuff will work. I'm not sure about the other production software like Ableton and those kind of things, but it seems like Ableton guys, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments or in the chat, but I think Ableton guys are more PC based. I feel like they just stick on PCs, like Deadmau5, for instance. I only talk about him because I've been using a new software he developed called Osc Pilot, but he developed that software for PCs, and so he's very much on the PC side of things. Let me see if I can bring up that software. Yeah, I'll bring it up here. So this is Osc Pilot. I'll probably end up doing a demo of this at some point, but it's really cool. This is a software, and yeah, I know we're getting totally off topic here, but I ran into an issue at work, or that we're designing this system where we need to control many different things on a computer with a touch computer, a touch tablet kind of thing. And we have these tablets that work on that have Windows 10 running. So you can create this interface from scratch, and then it has OSC built in. It has obviously MIDI controls that you can send. You can send and receive NDI signals, which is awesome. I think, or maybe it's just receive NDI. So you can receive video signals and bring them back onto your screen here. Now this is meant for like EDM people. I completely know that, and but if you've got like a novice coming in, or you've got someone that you need to put a system in front of, or you have a system running in the background and you only want them to control certain aspects of it, this will do that, because there's software you can get that converts MIDI to key commands, and this can interact with some of our hardware that is there's soft keys or soft knobs on the hardware itself, so you can control them by software. I mean, there's just endless things you can do with it, and you can download a free trial. But it is for PC only right now. I don't know if they're going to, the only one I know here out of these is Ableton. I don't know any of these. Well, I know Bitwig. I've heard of them. But I don't really know the rest of these. I'm not an EDM artist, if you can't tell. But anyways, I don't know. I'm interested to see what comes of this. This should be an interesting few months as far as the tech goes, and we'll see when Pro Tools, or when Avid finally says Pro Tools is good for Big Sur. That usually takes a few months, which I don't understand completely. It feels like they should have this stuff with beta releases. They, being as big as they are, they should have these beta releases pretty early, I think. Maybe I'm up in the night, but I feel like that's a thing. So anyways, I just thought I'd throw that out there. Kind of an interesting discussion to have, a few things to look at. If I get any Mac product with that, I think I'd do the 13-inch MacBook Pro. It'd be interesting to see what they come out with the 16-inch. We just don't know yet. And they've said they're going to hit everything, so they'll eventually have an iMac, a 16-inch MacBook Pro, probably an iMac Pro-ish, maybe. I don't know. But just for convenience sake, maybe a 13-inch MacBook Pro would be the best kind of compromise. Again, this is kind of an interesting place to be because you don't know what's going to come down the line. But what we need to do now, just as production professionals, is we need to sit here and watch everybody test this stuff. Watch people go through and see how different programs react and make sure that we don't, screw ourselves over. Oh, Osho's on. Nice to see you, man. We're actually, good day, man. But we're actually almost done here. So I think that go back and watch the stream after we're done here. But yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Again, go and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at High Tech on Life. Those I try to do, a couple posts a week on that. Hopefully that gets to you guys. Yeah, I know, Clark. I would love to see. Clark just said this, and this is what I was saying earlier. The MacBook Air with no fan, I would love that as well. But I'm wondering if you're going to get any like thermal throttling going on. You probably will. I don't know. And since it's their own silicon, are we actually ever going to know? Is there going to be a way to is there any peripheral out there or tool out there that can measure that? Are they going to allow that to even be seen? I don't know. Maybe. Anyways, so we'll end it there, guys. Instagram, Twitter. We'll try to keep you guys updated there. Go ahead and subscribe here if you haven't yet. Go check out the High Tech on Life Gear Fund. If you haven't seen that, it's a Patreon, but it's a little bit different where you pledge, and I can't stress this enough. Don't pledge the freaking bread and milk money, right? If you have expendable income, it's donate what you want if you want, right? So the whole process is you donate what you want. It could be as little as $1 a month, and then we save up money. We buy gear. We review gear on this channel. We learn the gear together, and then at the end of learning about it, I give it away to one of the patrons who have donated. So, you put in a few dollars a month, like $5 a month, and, you're spending, over 5 months, you've got $50, right? Or whatever that math is, $25 in there, and you're spending $25 and you've got, and you earn something that's like worth $500. So it could be pretty cool. So there's a link in the description for that. Anyways, thanks, guys. I hope that we can have something next week. I'm trying to figure out what topic we should cover next week. If you have any suggestions, go ahead and put it in the chat or in the comments, because we'll cover whatever we want. So Greg says, that's my problem. Apple never seems to make exactly the right thing, and then they are a closed ecosystem. Yeah, and that's something that we deal with all the time, especially in the audio realm. And Clark, you could back me up on this, but it's very much, I try running Pro Tools on a PC, and it's tough. It's tough to get used to it because it has to be all encompassed in that one window, and you got to extend the window out if you want double screen. It's not as smooth as running on a Mac, and you have to deal with ASIO drivers instead of just using core audio, all that fun stuff. Yeah, not fun, I should say. So I think that's it, guys. I think we'll end it there, and hopefully I'll see you next week. Remember to go check out all the links: Patreon, Gear Fund, Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe, get the bell on. We try to do a stream every Monday, and I'll see you guys next time.